Welcome to TCG Buzz, and listen up, card folks. As a game dev myself, I know firsthand that art can and usually is the most expensive part of development. In today's episode, we're going to give you some tips on how to get great art for your game on a budget. And the best part, generative AI need not apply. These are all going to be tips and tricks that you can dip into without using generative AI, because I know that's a little bit of a touchy topic for a lot of people out in the game purchasing, the game dev space. So it's just not even something that we're just not even going to bring it up
Yep.
outside of this. That was it.
If you're looking for other methods to make your first game and have a way to actually do that and not spend $60,000 on art commissions, this is the episode for you.
Yep. Don't V card yourself and spend $1 million to get 2 sets done on just art. That's not going to go well. That's that's not the way. And joining us is one of our regular cast members on TCG Buzz. Who is it? You tell me.
It's Kevin.
It's Kevin. It's Kevin. It's Kevin.
We got to break the 2-lane streak eventually, right?
Exactly. We got Kevin back. It's always good to have him around.
Specifically, Kevin, we brought you on because I think you are such a good example of what we're talking about today, because you've got an amazing new game available now called Nine Omens that really follows these principles we are about to preach. And I really like and really respect. So we're going to pitch it a couple of times in this episode because, yes, it is published by us, but also it's just a really freaking cool game, man. And I think more than any other game in our entire Speed Robo Games catalog, I think Nine Omens represents to me what the ideal game would be I'd want to see from someone who's like, I want to make my first game.
Exactly. Right. So Kevin, you tell us a little bit more about Nine Omens, because I guess this video is just like, it's sponsored by Nine Omens, whatever. Just put it up on the screen, sponsored by Nine Omens. But like, Kevin, this is like your first game like on your own, right? Because I know you've got a long background in the biz, but like, is that right? Is this like your first on your own? I already know the answer. I'm your publisher though.
Yeah, so Nine Omens was my first solo designed, like, I guess, published game now. And then the story was like, I had an idea for a game, and I was like, well, I already know Radon, right? So I was like, I work, and I was like, if I made a game, would you publish it if I made it in a month? And then he was like, hell yeah, man. So that's what happened. And I made Nine Omens for a lot of reasons. There's like a list I have in my head of like 20 challenges I want to do. But in a nutshell, I wanted to speed run a game and show people what is possible and realistic, with game dev in a very short amount of time. And if I had the elevator pitch Nine Omens, think of it as classic Yu-Gi-Oh, but good, like fixed.
Classic Yu-Gi-Oh, but on Ozempic.
Yes,
Ozempic.
dude.
That's it.
Here you go.
And with modern TCG design, a lot of mechanics from indie TCGs, but also unique mechanics here. No shuffling for a card game, pretty insane. No deck building, no tokens for counters needed. It's just cards in a box, and it's $15 for 6 decks. So we are the cheapest game I can think of where it's $2.50 per deck. I can't think of a single game that's cheaper than that. I wanted to compete a little bit with Massiveverse. Shout out to them. They're a good company, but I want to beat them in cost because why not? And hopefully someone beats us. If someone can make a deck for $2,
You do lose out in price to me when I was in 4th grade out in recess, holding my arm like this, pretending it was a dual disc and using my imagination.
That is cheaper. But to get us a little bit back on track, to talk about like the first thing you can do when you're making like your first game. And it uh to get art, there's actually a lot of free art out there. Um and you can there's so many like free asset packs. Like gameicons.net is a resource that I use all the time. And sometimes I'll frequently use it for like development projects like placeholder art. We used gameicons.net as all of our placeholder art when we were making Legacies of Lure back in the day. Before we got our graphic designer Chris, we love Chris on the team, and we got our artist Mikhail working for us. It was it was literally Keith in MS Paint making blocks to form the card border, and then he just grabbed from gameicons.net and used that as the art. And gameicons.net is just it's completely free to use. So there's no shame in dipping into those assets that are literally that's the point. They're there to use.
I agree. It's literally the best resource for indie games of all kinds. So MetaZoo use gameicons.net for the first two sets.
There you go.
Legitimately, like all the icons were from there. We only changed. I work for MetaZoo, if you can't tell, but um, all the icons changed in set 3 and beyond. Which I'm going to be very honest with you, I did not like the new icons
Yeah.
because they weren't as clear as the game icons that icons. I will do my own shout out. Clip Safari. So they
Clip
had
Safari, yeah.
yeah, tons of
Dude,
clip art. Man, I used that thing. I made another game, also 9 cards, not Nine Omens, in a week for a game jam, and all my assets, Clip Safari.
yeah.
Are you like John Lennon, where you've just got like a weird obsession with the number 9?
I didn't before. That's actually kind of a newer thing, but at this point, I'm kind of obsessed with it.
No, but, like, I think that the MetaZoo example is such a great example of what we're talking about, of, like, even in your finished product, there is no shame in using those asset packs, even the free ones that everybody can, because I completely agree with you. I think the new icons in MetaZoo was a downgrade, and that was a downgrade that the MetaZoo team had to pay for. And it also just confused existing players because they're used to the old icons, man.
They
It's like
were,
it
yeah.
was so, like, I strongly encourage everybody of all sizes, if there's a free asset out there that is exactly what you need, just get out there and use it.
One more thing on that MetaZoo point. One thing MetaZoo didn't do in the beginning was credit the artists for the
Oh,
icons in the rulebook. So
oof.
make sure, we
Yeah.
did add a credit for the game icons.net artists in the rulebook later on. So just be sure you do that. Hey, I didn't write the original rulebook. I edited it later on, but we added it
I
in.
mean, that's just a really good rule of thumb in general. If no matter where you get your art asset from, no matter how you use it, no matter what the, accreditation requirements are, it never hurts to put, even just like a thank you in your rule book to like gameicons.net or something like that to just it never hurts to go that route.
Pretty much any time there is a like free or even paid asset collection like that, they will have readily available their rules for using them.
Mhm.
As an example, not from game design, but in TCG Buzz with our old intro song, that was a licensed track that I paid for. That the one rule was I had to, in the description of the videos, put where I purchased it from. Follow those guidelines, pay attention to them, and you will do fine. While we're talking about like amazing places to gather assets, I'll talk about two options that are like cheap paid options that I like. One, sites like Humble Bundle and Fanatical will oftentimes do bundles of assets. They're a great place to get just a ton of useful assets from. The second one, and this one I was sleeping on for a long time. There are so many amazing asset packs that are readily available for extremely low amounts of money with great commercial license uses available on itch.io.
Mhm.
great place to browse for that type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree. The paid asset packs are just as good, if not better, than the free ones. And we're talking like $10, $20, and you're good. You're gold. Like if you listen to basically like until last year when I started working with our mutual homie Raincoat. Yeah, Raincoat. Um all of the music that I would use for like every video game I made, all of the YouTube videos that I've ever made on any of my channels, that was all purchased music through asset packs on Humble Bundle. Like it's just, it cost me, man, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like, I bought 3 different music packs of like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs. So many that I haven't even gone through and listened to and sorted all of them. And it cost me like $5. And we even use, we actually use a music pack that we bought just like that for the Legacies of Lure video game too. Like, it's just yeah, it's great. Like, definitely buy those asset packs. Going back to free stuff, this is one of my favorites, alright? I'm a sucker for this one, alright?
All right, I'm ready.
Public domain. Dude,
Yeah.
mm, oh my god. The public domain is like it is a gold mine. It just get in there. Just wade into that swamp and start just scooping up whatever you want. I've done so many public domain sets. There is a whole set of System Gate that is all public domain art because it's a Winnie the Pooh set. And we took the original like ink sketches from the storybook, and one of our buddies digitally remastered them in like a digital watercolor style, and it looks so good. And that was basically free. And Cryptic is a game that I worked on for a brief spell. Did you know that set one of Cryptic is like 20% just old Renaissance paintings? It's just like that's like a fifth of the artwork in that set. Nobody cares. And it's great. And you should do that.
It's one of the best assets that people don't realize is available.
Yeah.
One example I have is, as the head mod of r/TCG, there was a couple years back a game that was posting, and they were using AI, and this was years ago, so it was like when AI was still pretty rudimentary, and they
Yeah.
were trying to use AI to recreate 18th century Japanese block print art.
Exactly what you're talking about.
And I was like, "Hey, you can just, like, use the real things, right?" And they're like, "No? What? I can just use those?" It's like, "Yeah, dude."
Yeah, I think I know the exact game you're talking about because I told them I was like, yeah, dude, just go get actual block art. And like the thing with public domain is that there's something for every style, right? Like I was just talking about Cryptic. If you want a Magic the Gathering style fantasy game, go grab Renaissance paintings. If you want something that's like a MetaZoo cartoon style game, go grab old cartoons, right? Like there's so many. Betty Boop just hit public domain. Popeye hit public domain last year. Go get some. And if you want, comic book art, superhero stuff, there's actually a guy in Tabletop Aces right now. Shout out to oh my gosh, Moonshadow J. Is that right? Yeah, Jay. Shout out to Jay. I'm so sorry I blanked on your name for a second. But his game is all like public domain old comic book stuff. And he pulled up stuff that I was just like, I never would have thought that that would be just, it looks incredible. Like his game is one of the best looking games I've seen in the past year. Art 100% free, dude. What are you doing? You don't got to spend nothing on art.
Again, a disclaimer, do your research with the stuff that you're getting. As an
Yes.
example, the Fleischer Superman cartoons of the 1930s are all public domain, but Superman himself is not. So you can use the random goons and thugs from those cartoons. You
Mhm.
cannot use Superman.
Correct. And a good example is, another famous character that isn't public domain, that is public domain, but isn't public domain, is Winnie the Pooh. You can have him naked. You can have naked Winnie the Pooh, but you can't have shirt Winnie the Pooh.
Very good point. The only thing I would add as a tip is to pay attention to future public domains, right? So I was gonna say this year we got Betty Boop, we got Disney's Pluto before he was known as Pluto. I'm reading this right now from a website, Flip the Frog. That came out January 1st this year. So if you're paying attention to public domain, what's going to be released publicly for you to use, you can actually make stuff in advance before the public domain thing hits. I think when Mickey and Mouse was becoming public domain, there were some obscure filmmakers. They want to do like a Mickey Mouse horror, something like that. I have to fact check that, but they were making it before the actual deadline of public domain. So just pay attention to what's going to expire, and if you like something, you can use it ahead of time, and then release it. The moment it comes out.
Yeah, no, that's a really good tip. I was actually doing the same with Popeye because I'm kind of a big Popeye fan because he's from Illinois. So I actually had like this whole like Illinois icons set that I was working on for System Gate that wound up getting like pushed back just due to other product coming out and other things. So that's still in the pipeline, but I was actually working on that before Popeye hit public domain because he was going to be like the big star of that, and then we're going to have like Raggedy Ann and the snowman from the Rankin Bass Rudolph, because that's public domain.
And John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, right? They're in public domain, right?
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. The reason why I wanted to have Sam the Snowman is because he's voiced by Burl Ives, who is from my hometown of Charleston. So, that was cool. It was gonna be cool. I'll still probably do that set someday, but that's been hit with the delays. Well, somebody else start with the top. I've done all of them.
Not so easy running the show, is it? Huh?
Hey, what if you start talking right now?
Okay, I will do one, guys. Okay, next point, MS Paint Doodles. If you're going to be selling AI art as I'm raising funds to hire real artists, you're better off just doing this. End quote. So you don't have to be an amazing artist if you're going to put some game content out to just get a game out. And let's be very honest. I'm not saying this to shame any artist or any game because, I do love these games. There's a ton of like popular games that don't have super amazing art. So top of my head, Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. Not much shading to it, right? It's a good art. It's not much shading. It's well designed. It's really easy to see the cards. Very simple art. You could even say Sushi Go. Not too complicated. Not too complicated art. And then a game right now on Kickstarter that is like this style of like, dotted eyes, really simple shapes is this pickleball card game on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It's like $9,000 right now, funded like 3 times their goal. It's not super complicated art, and it's using the exact same character, just different shapes and forms. You don't have to be that good at art, and you don't have to use Photoshop. You could use GIMP. You could use Paint.net. Like, there's a lot of ways to make art for free with different softwares, and you don't have to be that good,
My favorite example for this point is that one of the most popular game design related series on the entire internet, may I present to you Magic the Noah and his I drew this in 30 seconds in Google Slides videos that get millions of views of him creating game shows, creating RPG adventures, and it's all MS Paint doodles.
Yeah, that's a great example, and I can even think of more from some games I really like. Shout out to Backyard Bug Fight, because it's literally its entire art style is meant to look like a child's crayon-doodle sketchbook of different bugs. Like that's what it looks like, and so like they aren't even colored within the lines, but it still looks really good because it has this cohesive art style and vision. I love that one. A fan favorite, Card Fight Vanguard card. I can think of 3 off the dome. But Toy Peggle, Uh,
Toipagle.
the original art
Wingle.
for Wingull, you've seen that freak show. And then one of the wrestlers that Bushiroad has in their like wrestling lineup actually like straight up doodled this little worm guy as a Nova Grappler trigger. Everybody loves him.
That is a good example. I will say this point on making your own art. If you're not a good artist, it's all about how you sell it.
Mhm.
Because people who are serious about art, they're not going to look at your doodles and be like, I'm going to buy this. If you're selling it as cute, if you're selling it for, for kids, if you're selling it because it's funny, that's probably the biggest one here. It's funny, right?
Mhm.
Then it can sell. But don't try to sell doodled art as like serious art. Know the audience you're trying to sell.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, if you're doing an MS Paint doodle game and you're telling me it's going to be the next Pokemon, I'm going to laugh you out of the room, right? But if you're doing an MS Paint doodle game and it's like the pickleball game where it's like game in box, or it's like Sushi Go where it's a $20 tin, yeah, man, all day, right? Like this is, you know, not all of these when it comes to like trading card games, I think this is something to preface. When it comes to like actual like TCG trading card games, that's a whole different ball game because trading card games inherently have to operate on the fact and the belief that they are investment pieces and they're going to go up in value. That, like it or not, I certainly don't. That's just baked into the business model.
It doesn't even have to be MS Paint shitpost style drawings. A lot of this really comes down to, are you making a game with a cheaper art style? There are ways to make artwork that it looks good and confident, but isn't expensive. A great example would be this little known game I've heard of called Nine Omens. One of the big things you've talked about in your own videos that I really was like, oh, dude, that's awesome, is you're just like, yeah, dude, not having color made the game cheaper. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. And like that kind of flows into the next thing because this is something I do all the time. Like, and we even talked about this in one of our seminars, Jacob. If you have a friend who likes to do artwork, odds are they've already got like a back catalog of a bunch of sketches they've done that you can just be like, yeah, here you go, man. Or they're gonna want to like do their own like cute little doodle arts for your game, and they can just be like, yeah, pay me when it sells, and in the meantime send me demo copies and a high five. Like, and that's fine, utilize the resources that you've got, and it is fun to make cool things with your friends. That you can do that. It's fun to make cool things with your friends.
Yeah, with the Nine Omens, so all the art was made by my very good friend, one of my closest friends, Preston Philbrick. Super underrated artist as a whole. If you see what else he does on his own time, it's pretty insane. But before Nine Omens, for months, I think actually a year, 2 years, we were like, hey, we both respect each other, like designer to artist, and we were like, I told Preston, would you do a game with me one day? I do all the game design, you do all the art, and he was totally down for that. And I was like, you can change the names of the cards, do the whole art direction. All I want is like make the art flow with the mechanics, close enough. He did it with Nine Omens, and he's pretty happy with it. I'm pretty happy with it. I'll say this: if you are a game designer, the most important skill you need to have, in my opinion, are social skills, because this is not an isolated profession. We need to work with artists, graphic designers, people to play test, business people, other game designers for feedback. You can't be too introverted in this space. If I didn't have that social resource, as Jacob did in this Tabletops Aces podcast or seminar, this game will not have happened. There's like 25 plus people who made this game, like graphic designers who I know, lots of play testers, obviously right on, So that was all from social connections built over years. Even though it was a 3-month game to actually make it, it was like a lot of years of like building connections and getting better at my own skills. Because I couldn't have made Nine Omens in 3 months if I was 5 years ago Kevin Nemetazu. He was still like beginner game design.
If you're a game designer out there and you're like, I want to make my first game, right? I want to make a game. I can't draw. I'm worried. I don't have the money for big art. I don't even want to do MS Paint art. There are like genres of games that don't need art. Why don't you go make a dice game? Go make yourself a new Yahtzee, right? Why don't you make your own twist on werewolf, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you go make a Jax, right?
Tabletop RPGs don't need art. They benefit from them, sure. It's nice to have art in the book, but you don't need artwork to make a tabletop RPG. And you know what? I'm going to come out here. I got one more way you can get free art for your game.
Bonus.
Make a fan project. What if you want to make games and you really want to be a part of this industry? You're not going to make it if you care about the money. This is something that comes up all the time. This is a tough biz. I'm living off ramen noodles and this is my full-time job, okay? That's the reality. This is literally my mom's basement back here, okay, guys? You ain't getting rich from this business. There's no two bones about it. So if you want to get out there and you want to get your feet wet in making games and doing game design, you can just start by making fan projects. Use artwork from whatever fan project you're working on. And you're going to learn so much so quick. You're going to meet so many friends. You're going to start making connections. You're going to be having fun. And you're going to have a really good time. Shout out to Open Zoo.
Open Zoo, let's go.
Shout out to Open Zoo. They're a MetaZoo fan project. And I love everything they're doing. Like, it looks good. It looks good. There's so many like fan project games that I've looked at and I've played and I've been like, dude, that rules. Like think of all the Pokemon ROM hacks. Think about how many Pokemon ROM hacks are out there that are like unique gameplay twists on the genre that game designer can then go on and like make an actual like creature battler RPG. Like one that I played that I got to shout out is Pokemon This Gym of Mine, where it like flips the script and instead of you being a trainer beating the gyms, you're the gym leader. And it's like a city management sim on top of It's so good, dude.
What about Sonic Mania?
Sonic Mania, dude. Everybody at Christian Whitehead and Headcanon Studios, they were making fan projects, and then Sega saw that and said, "Yo, here's like $1 million, little bro. Make us a real game." And then they did, and it's like
and now they're making their own games separate from that.
Now they're making their own games separate. Freedom Planet, since we're on the Sonic the Hedgehog kick, literally a Sonic the Hedgehog fan game that they just like fucking reskinned. Ukulele, basically a fan project. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night.
I want to backtrack to Jacob's point about you don't need to have art for your games, right? So I don't think he mentioned it here, but we did talk previously. You can just do word games, right?
Yeah.
Cards Against Humanity, Apples to Apple. There's a really good game that won the Spiel des Jahres award. Did I say that correctly? Called Just One. It's literally just text, like some, what's it called? Expo markers, basically, really cheap ones, and some placards to just write on. It's fantastic, the game. Just words, And I want to shout out also a YouTuber. I don't know her personally, but Pam Wall's game design. One of her games that got published was Blob Party, which was also just a word, party game. So, lots of game designers do the word games. Now, I will say with the word games, it may not be a cup of tea, right? These are more casual party games. You're not going to make a war game. Well, you could make a war game word game. Actually, that could be an idea, but most people don't associate that.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a war game.
Dude, Scrabble, but it's Warhammer 40K. Sounds really fun.
Wordhammer 40K.
Yeah.
Guys, all right, so that make that a thing now, because I know that somebody like watched our video of like 100 game ideas and saw like reverse life deck and was like, oh, that's great, is actually making that now. I need somebody else watching this video to get out there and make Wordhammer 40K. I want to play that. That sounds dope.
If you're using AI for your games, fine, you made that decision. That's cool. But if you're using AI for your game and your reasoning was I didn't have any other options, no,
Right,
you just weren't thinking hard enough.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That is really the thing that, like, when I see an AI game and it gets under my skin is when somebody's like, ooh, woo, I'm using AI because I didn't have any other choices. I'm sorry. It's like, no, dude, you did. You really did. Everybody knows you did. Stop it. And it's just, I have so much more respect for the games that are like, yes, we're using AI. We know what we're doing. We fucking take the risks and roll with it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna use it, use it. If you're not gonna use it, you've got tons of great options to not.
I actually have a point to say on this, and you know me, I love playing devil's advocate.
Mhm.
I will actually defend AI here to a point. What? To a point. See, I don't defend AI. I'm actually, I get pretty triggered of AI. My girlfriend knows I get triggered over AI like 100%. However, something we need to be aware about is that AI is becoming more normalized over
Mhm.
time. So what's going to happen most likely is Gen Alpha, Gen Beta, Gen whatever as after Beta, they're going to grow up around AI. So to them, they may see AI not as a bad thing because all of us here are biased because we're all creators, but we also know how hard the creative process is. So when you have like a Gen Beta who are like 1 year old right now, 2 years old, they're already seeing AI images in their phones naturalized, you know? So they don't know it's a bad thing per se. For me, I wouldn't, I'm not saying we're shaming them here, but I'm not going to shame those
Yeah.
young folk per se. But it's up to us, dare I say it, the older generation, oh God, to lead the way and show them it's worth creating and there are alternatives. That's my
Yeah. I totally agree with that.
I personally think AI is going to go away in the next year or two, and the reason is that we're all going to be bombed back to the Stone Age. The only reason I'm still doing this stuff is to stock up my nuclear bunker.
Yeah, exactly. You're stocking up your nuclear bunker and it's all just like Pokemon cards. After the nuclear winter clears, these will be worth 100 billion extra value.
I would love to see the fan fiction where it's Fallout, but Pokemon cards are the main currency.
I'm saying that's like legitimately a timeline I could see happening. Yo, it's not bottle caps. It's not anything like that at all. It's Pokemon cards. Yeah, no, I buy that. I believe that.
Please, I'll trade you this first edition PSA 9 Fossil Gengar for some nice non-irradiated water.
I should have
Please.
bought V Royale.
I should have bought V.
Dude, shout out to the homie Merriweather. That man makes some funny ass shit. I love that guy. Thank you for closing us out, Kevin. Everybody at home, I hope you enjoyed. Check out Nine Omens. We're on Kickstarter for the next few days. We did a 9-day Kickstarter campaign because this game is we actually hit our funding goal, our stretch goal for higher quality printing. So we're going to be doing the Kickstarter batch and probably some extra copies in a higher print quality. But when those are run through, we're going to just keep printing this game, print on demand. It's not going to go anywhere. So the only thing, if you miss this Kickstarter, the only thing you're missing out on is getting cards signed by this guy or this guy. He's one of these two positions. He's either to my side or above me. I don't know.
Wait, I actually have one more thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna surprise you with one final.
But wait,
thing.
There's more. Billy Mays here with Nine Omens. All right, go ahead.
I just wanted to really emphasize.
Okay, I think that actually is the end of the episode.
I was really trying to bring up because of Wordhammer 40K. I really wanted to somehow shoe in Bookworm Adventures Deluxe.
Oh, I love that game. That's such a good game.
I know, it's so good, dude.
Dude, Bookworm, dude, everybody sleeps on Bookworm, man. But like, dude, can we talk about PopCap? This is just a PopCap appreciation
Wait.
podcast.
So, of the
Old
three,
PopCap.
rank them. Actually, you know what? Maybe this will make it in the episode, maybe not. We'll find out. Okay, Kevin, right on.
Yeah.
Fuck, marry, kill.
Yes.
Bookworm Adventures Deluxe, Bejeweled. Let's make it Bejeweled Twist for extra sexy.
Ooh.
Okay, and Peggle.
Oh God. Okay, you're giving me the tough ones. I'm going to marry Bookworm. I'm going to. This sucks to do, but I gotta kill Bejeweled. I'm gonna fuck Peggle. Dude, if you've seen that unicorn in Peggle, I can get up on that, brother.
Bjorn?
All right? Like I can make something happen. But I'm marrying Bookworm because the dude, he's got like a stable 9 to 5. There's nothing crazy happening in his world. You know what I mean? Like he's like, you've got the stability there. With Peggle, it's always just like, and now it's time for one more test. And it's like, that's gonna get old really quick. But like I could one night stand with the pumpkin man from Peggle. You know what I'm saying? But Bejeweled, I'm just gonna get crushed by gems, dude. I'm not. See ya. All right, Kevin, your turn.
Yeah, I would do Bookworm. Seems like a fun guy. Like, why he's smart. Knows how to do stuff pretty well. Long body, all that stuff. So he's a
Yeah,
worm.
exactly. All right.
All the girls they want a worm these days. Would
Mhm.
would you marry me if I was a worm? All of
That's
that.
true. That's true.
I want to marry the Bejeweled man because, dude, I want to make it rich, man.
I
know
get
I'm gonna
that.
get all those
That makes sense.
diamonds.
So then so then you're killing Peggle.
I'm gonna kill. Yeah, Peggle. I don't need no Peggle, man. It's all good.
All right. Okay. I can respect it. Jacob.
Ooh. So, I'm going to fuck Peggle.
Hell yeah.
And the reason why is when we're at the final moments, trying to keep this PG-13, it's gonna play the song that it plays at the end of the level, and there's gonna be rainbows and everything, and it's gonna be awesome, and I'm gonna get a bonus ball. I don't know what that's gonna do, but I want to find out. Then I'm gonna listen, I'm gonna kill Bejeweled.
Yeah.
And the reason why is you want to get rich. You can also just like kill Bejeweled and steal his stuff, right?
True.
And third, I'm sorry, but you guys missed the third option. I'm going to marry Zuma.
Dude, I like legit though. Classic PopCap has so many banners, and EA ruined it. That's the takeaway from this. Dude, classic PopCap's library rule.
I feel like I need to flip the coin from Peggle to see if I get a free ball or not, to see if this ends up in the episode or not.
We'll play around a Peggle, see if it makes the cut after I did the outro like fucking 15 minutes ago.
Yeah. That's fine. I like these types of episodes.
Dude,
man.
this has been good. This is
just move it, man. This copy paste.
I like it.